Welcome. Welcome to Community Church Unitarian Universalist. I am your worship associate, Emma Caverly, and it is a joy to be with you today. Community Church is a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Please look to your weekly email for announcements, and we do have one announcement this morning. As a reminder, there will be a very, very brief congregational meeting directly following the service, so if you're a member of the congregation, please stay in the sanctuary for the congregational meeting. This morning, we are delighted to welcome back to the pulpit Reverend Melanie. Reverend Melanie has served as our consulting minister several years ago during a transition period. She now preaches with us quarterly. She also serves as a minister at our home UU in Ellisville, Mississippi. And we welcome her back to the pulpit today. Welcome, Reverend Melanie.
Well, as sometimes happens, I changed my mind about the call to service after I sent the information to the administrator. So our opening words this morning come from the Reverend John Wolfe. This Lent, fast from criticism and feast on praise. Fast from self-pity and feast on joy. Fast from ill temper and feast on peace. Fast from resentment and feast on contentment. Fast from jealousy and feast on love. Fast from pride and feast on humility. Fast from selfishness and feast on service. Fast from fear and feast on faith. Let us light our chalice with our usual song. Y'all, I have a confession to make. I hate the story, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. As there are very few occasions when the person doing the children's story asks the minister for okay beforehand, I've been stuck several times over the years of my ministry, sitting back while someone reads that story for a sermon of mine. And each time I sit there cringing, but of course there's nothing I can do because the minister jumping up to cut off the children's story is kind of an unforgivable breach of worship etiquette. In my view, the Giving Tree is not a suitable story to tell to UU children or to UU adults either. It's unhealthy. It goes against our UU values of reciprocity, equitable relationships, and responsibility. To recap the story very, very briefly, it's about a female tree and a human boy. And they have a long relationship, which at first is not problematic. The boy rests under the tree, eats of the tree's fruit, climbs her branches, and even carves his initials into the bark of her trunk. All well and good, not much harm is caused. But then, as he grows older, the boy begins demanding more and more and more and more from the tree. And every time she gives him whatever he wants, all her fruit, all her branches, and finally her trunk, until she's left a lifeless stump. And even then, the boy, now an old man, uses the dead stump as a stool to rest on. Some people frame this story as one of selfless giving, of self-sacrifice, of relinquishment in the name of love. But I can't see it as anything but a cautionary tale about an abusive relationship in which one side gives everything and the other side gives nothing. If you retitled the story, The Giving Mother or The Giving Wife, I think pretty much everyone would see it as a story of horrific abuse. So, what if we reframe the story and tell it in a UU way? How about a boy who enjoys the gifts of the tree when he's small, and then as he grows up, he treasures and cares for the tree, giving it nurture, making sure it's safe from anyone who would harm it or cut it down willy-nilly? What if he honored the tree by planting a daughter tree nearby so that more and more people and more trees could have loving and reciprocal relationships with each other for generations to come? What if when the boy's an old man, he comes back to his favorite tree when both of them are near the end of their lives and weeps to mourn his friend and the relationship they have shared? What if? You know, even in the ecological sense, the giving tree makes no sense. Who among us would advocate for cutting down more trees and leaving dead stumps behind? I'm not the only one who hates this story. You can go online. If you Google why I hate the giving tree, it's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. Christopher Rusin has written online about his feelings. He says, good relationships just don't work this way. If the tree had set limits on her giving, the boy might just have learned some self-restraint and true partnership. I know that story is almost universally loved and praised. But don't be fooled. Just because something, a story, an idea, an issue is old and venerable, and even if it's popular with many people, it doesn't mean it's a good thing. We UUs must always use our discernment and our UU principles and our foundational value of love to judge everything we come across. And sometimes we have to just say no, like we did yesterday in the election. Let's sing our recessional. Let us draw our hearts and minds together in a quiet spirit of prayer, meditation, and reflection. In the tomb of the soul, we carry secret yearnings, pains, frustrations, loneliness, fears, regrets, worries. In the tomb of the soul, we take refuge from the world and its heaviness. In the tomb of the soul, we wrap ourselves in the security of darkness. Sometimes this is a comfort. Sometimes it is an escape. Sometimes it prepares us for experience. Sometimes it insulates us from life. Sometimes this tomb life gives us time to feel the pain of the world and to reach out to heal others. Sometimes it numbs us and locks us up with our own concerns. In this season where light and dark balance the day, we seek balance for ourselves. Grateful for the darkness that has nurtured us, we push away the stone and invite the light to awaken us to the possibilities within us and among us, possibilities for new life in ourselves and in our world. So might this be. Amen, Ashe, Shalom, Salam, Namaste, blessed be.
This is our sacred time of joys and sorrows. If you are online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comment section to be read aloud. In person, you may write them on one of the cards being passed out by our greeters. Please remain seated as we sing our hymn, number 264, Now When the Tomb is Laid, hymn number 264. We have a sorrow for those who are too ill to attend. We hold them in our hearts. I have a joy that all 4 constitutional amendments failed yesterday. and we will light 2 more candles. One for the joys still bubbling up, too new to share, and one for the sorrows that we cannot yet put into words. Know that we hold you in our hearts.
I always have mixed feelings about doing a reading from John Buren's, because those of you who know him know he has what my son, as a little boy, used to call the voice of God, Mom. I can't talk like John Buren's, but I can quote him. He writes, "I don't know about you, but I don't give up much easily. I'm not much of an ascetic. Ask me to relinquish something, and I'm likely to recall that when I was growing up Catholic, I had to give up something for Lent. And so as a teenager, I used to say, I'm giving up whale blubber. Which is why I am no longer in that tradition. I was a bad Catholic, and there's enough of those already. But in life, I've learned letting go never goes away. Lately, with the economic meltdown, I've been reminded of an old Jack Benny bit. Now, I know some of you here aren't old enough to remember Jack Benny, but many of us are over 39. In an old bit from his show, a robber demands of Jack, your money or your life. And Jack just stands there in his characteristic pose. Your money or your life, repeats the robber. Wait a minute, says Jack. I'm thinking. But the truth is, you're going to give up both, your money and your life, any way you look at it. As my wife Gwen, the Episcopal priest, likes to say, you never see a hearse towing a U-Haul. To live in this world, says Unitarian poet Mary Oliver, you must be able to do 3 things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. Friends, I don't know what each of you may be forced to let go of. Perhaps some things, perhaps some expectations, perhaps some feelings of entitlement, angst, or bitterness. Eventually, I'm sure, a loved one. But I do know this. In the end, each of us must finally learn to let go of everything we have and everything we are. So we need those whom we love and communities like this one to remind us of what abides and sustains. It is not simple, nor easy, nor often sought for, but every relinquishment is a kind of rehearsal for the big ones. So ends our reading this morning. There was a time in Unitarian Universalism, and not that long ago, when UUs avoided and or complained about anything they perceived as Christian. I once had the founding mother of a UU congregation tell me the Mardi Gras service I had introduced to the congregation was Christian because it fell on the day before Ash Wednesday. Now, like John Buren's in this morning's reading, I too am a former Catholic. And also, like him, part of the reason I became Unitarian Universalist is that I could not be a good Catholic, even if I wanted to. Many UUs were raised Christian of some kind and were glad, even relieved, to find a faith without the restrictions they had struggled against in the past. Becoming a religious liberal was one of the best decisions I ever made, and I've never regretted it, no matter what. But in becoming a UU, I did not stop admiring and being inspired by some important aspects of the Christian faith, the faith that is the foundation and basis of ours. I happily hyphenate UU Christian into my personal list of theologies. Now, Lent is not thought of as a Unitarian Universalist season. Lent is the season that follows Mardi Gras, the lead-in on the Christian liturgical calendar to Easter, starting, of course, as my parishioner said, on Ash Wednesday. Although its name references the lengthening of days in the spring, Lent actually comes from an old German word for length. Traditionally, for Christians, Lent has come to imply a time of penitence, relinquishment, and prayer as preparation for Easter. Penitence, relinquishment, and prayer. Ooh, boy, you got to admit, those are not terms you hear a lot of in UU churches. These are not terms that are often associated with liberal religion. Many UUs, like John Burens and myself, are at first delighted to leave behind the trappings of our former faiths, things that we felt were too stringent, too imposing, too rigorous. Sometimes it felt like, in my Catholic past, that anything that made you happy or gave you too much pleasure was considered sinful. And as a kid, I never could figure out how my love of chocolate mattered to God. For many of us, myself included, Unitarian Universalism felt like a faith that let you freely make all your own choices and decisions and did not impose or force anything on you. And this is all to the good. But contrary to Mae West, maybe too much of a good thing is a bad thing. A religion that tells you you can do anything you want is not much of a religion. A faith that does not ask much of you cannot command a deep commitment from you. Maybe, just maybe, Unitarian Universalism could use a little Lent, a little penitence, relinquishment, and prayer. While there was a time in fairly recent Unitarian Universalism when nearly all vestiges of our Christian heritage were suppressed or denied or hotly contested, happily, this is no longer true. There are UU congregations around the country that have Ash Wednesday services, that offer weekly Lenten Vespers, that hold Lenten ritual services on Holy Thursday and Good Friday. The congregation I served in Chattanooga, Tennessee for 9 years held an annual Ash Wednesday Vespers that was shared with a local Black Christian congregation. And I sure played myself by starting that service, because every year I had to get up really early on Ash Wednesday to drive back to Tennessee in time for that service. Good thinking, Melanie. There are now UU churches that hold special Lenten traditions, such as Princeton UU's Earth Ministries Animal Product Fast, or their single-use plastics fast for the 40 days of Lent. I know of a UU church that annually throws a Lenten challenge of 40 days without social media. How might such fasts change things for you or for this congregation? It's never a good idea to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Even Unitarian Universalists can sometimes need times of penitence, relinquishment, and prayer. The staunchest religious liberals, even the atheists, may find that it's good to have opportunities for reflection, to see what in our lives needs to be repented and atoned for. What behaviors, habits of thought, and destructive tendencies we ought to give up, and how prayer and meditation might play an important role in our spiritual health. While in my Catholic childhood, giving something up for Lent meant depriving yourself of something that you liked and enjoyed, practicing a Lenten spiritual discipline does not have to mean depriving ourselves of pleasure or making ourselves unhappy. As I've said about the giving tree, relinquishment is not always a good thing. But instead, Lent might be an opportune opening for us to strive to be our best, most whole, and most healthy selves. For today's religious liberals, relinquishment might mean giving up an addiction to smoking, drugs, or alcohol. It might mean learning to undo an unhealthy habit like mindless snacking or online shopping. You might, just for Lent, stop doing an addictive habit like checking your phone every 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm guilty. Or playing online games for hours at a time. You could train yourself, even if just till Easter, to give up worrying about all the things you can't change. Or you could give up nagging your partner or your children, or whining to your coworkers and friends about your partner and children. You could work on bettering your destructive personal habits like explosive anger or keeping your emotions bottled up and unexpressed. John Buren suggests relinquishing your sense of control, which you have to know is useless anyway, or your denial of death. And yeah, that's useless too. Lent could be the 40-day season when you resolve to do things differently. My friend and yours, UU minister Nathan Ryan, once vowed to say yes to any request made of him during Lent that wouldn't cause harm. And then he discovered that nobody asked anything of him during that period. And Nathan decided that his Lenten vow wasn't stringent enough and promised himself to do better the following year. A Lenten fast has to be challenging to be meaningful, which is why giving up meat on Fridays is not an actual sacrifice for New Orleanians. Bring on the fried fish. You might find that the spiritual discipline of doing something just for Lent makes it easier to do it all the time. I don't know if you know this, but local healthcare provider Ochsner holds an alcohol-free for 40 every year for Lent, open to people of all faiths, not just Catholics. Pretty much for people who probably feel like they drank a little too much during Carnival. Some people who sign up for the alcohol-free for 40 end up giving up alcohol altogether or greatly restricting their intake. At the very least, this kind of spiritual spring cleaning is a good thing. Lent can be a good time for discovering a paradoxical but essential spiritual truth. That giving up something in our lives allows space for something else to enter in. That letting something go opens up room for something else to fit in. But it takes courage to let go. You have to feel confident. You have to have faith that the new thing, whatever it is, will come along in time. Like a swinging trapeze bar in a circus act. This reading from Danan Perry, from her book, Warriors of the Heart, was found among the papers of my mentor and friend, the Reverend Suzanne Meyer, after she died. I want to share this reading to you because it means a lot to me, and you might have heard it before, but I hope it still has meaning. Sometimes I feel that my life is a series of trapeze swings. I'm either hanging on to a trapeze bar, swinging along, or for a few moments in my life, I'm hurtling across empty space in between trapeze bars. Most of the time, I spend my life hanging on for dear life to my trapeze bar of the moment. It carries me along at a certain steady rate of swing, and I have the feeling that I'm in control of my life. I know most of the right questions and even some of the right answers. But once in a while, as I'm merrily or not so merrily swinging along, I look out ahead of me in the distance, and what do I see? I see another trapeze bar swinging towards me. It's empty, and I know this new trapeze bar has my name on it. It is my next step, my growth, my aliveness coming to get me. In my heart of heart, I know that for me to grow, I have to release my grip on this present well-known bar to move to the new one. Each time it happens, I hope I won't have to grab the new one. But I know I must totally release my grasp on my old bar. And for some moment in time, I must hurtle across the space before I can grab on to the new bar. And each time this happens, I am filled with terror. It doesn't matter that in all my previous hurdles across the void, I have always made it. Each time I'm afraid that I will miss, that I'll be crushed on unseen rocks in the bottomless chasm between the bars. But I do it anyway. Transforming our need to grab that new bar, any bar, is allowing ourselves to dwell in the only place where real change happens. It can be terrifying. It can also be enlightening. Hurtling through the void, we may just learn to fly. End quote. Lent can be good practice for us in learning to let go what we ought to let go of, learning to relinquish what holds us back from growth, from being our best selves, to open ourselves up for needed transformation. And when we let go, as John Burens and Danan Perry and Nathan Ryan remind us, we can find that we discover what is real, what abides, what sustains, what makes us whole. I recommend that we take this opportunity this year and every year. So might this be. Amen, Ashe, Shalom, Salam, Namaste, blessed be.
Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members' and friends' generosity help us do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online, by text, or in person this morning. See the information on the back of your order of service for online giving. You may remain seated for our hymn number 265. It's hymn number 265, O Sacred Head Now Wounded.
O Spirit of life and renewal, we have wintered enough, mourned enough, oppressed ourselves enough. Our souls are too long cold and buried, our dreams all but forgotten, our hopes unheard. We are waiting to rise from the dead. In this, the season of steady rebirth, we awaken to the power so abundant, so holy, that returns each year through earth and sky. We will find our hearts again and our good spirits. We will love and believe and give and wonder and feel again the eternal powers. The flow of life moves ever onward through one faithful spring and another, and now another. May we be forever grateful. Alleluia. Our service here is ended, but service in the wider world remains for us a continuing responsibility and an ever-renewing source of joy. Go from here and make peace, but first let's sing Spirit of Life. Stand as you are willing and able.
Number 1, 2, 3.
Please remain standing for the chalice extinguishing. Please join me in it. The words are printed in your order of service. We extinguish the chalice here, that it might flow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as we leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again.
Hey, folks. We're going to have a very quick, short meeting. My apologies. This should have been done in the December meeting, but it was not on my radar. It's like just as you learn all the things about being